Hi, I'm Susanna Hurrell and I'm a soprano. Right now I was supposed to be singing the roles of Cleopatra in Giulio Cesare and the soprano soloist or Sister Susie in Bach's St. John Passion for ETO. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the tour due to COVID-19 and we only managed to do a couple of our performances. But thankfully, ETO have been incredibly generous and took the decision to support us fully by paying all of our fees for the whole tour in full. So I feel like I would like to give something back because of their incredible generosity and make a short video on singing. I'm not a singing teacher, but I do have a certain warm-up that I like to do every day, and I'm learning more all the time. So some of these exercises come from some people that I've been learning from recently, including the London Singing Studio, who are very generously putting out warm-up videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays and teaching vast numbers of people about the voice and about healthy ways to sing. So some of these tips come from them and some of them are just things that I've picked up over the years and have incorporated into my routine. I'm glad to see that my other colleagues from ETO who have done these videos are equally as passionate about warming up the body as I am, and they take, we've all agreed on the fact that the body is equally as important to warm up as the voice. So I'd like to start by doing some alignment and posture exercises and include some breathing into that. I'm going to start by doing a Pilates Rolldown. So with the hips, with the feet hip width apart, we're just going to roll all the way down on an exhale. We'll get to the bottom, we'll swing our head left to right, do a little nod, yes and no, like that. And on the second exhale, while we're down, we come up. And we'll roll up one vertebrae at a time till we're back up standing. So inhaling. And exhale, roll down. Bend from the knees. Keep your back nice and high, the top of your back. And then dangle. Breathing in. Nod your head yes and no. And on the exhale, curling back up with the head coming up last. From here, just feel the shoulders, the position of the shoulders. Are they forward? Are they too far back? And pulling your shoulders up to your ears. On an exhale, just drop them down. Let's do that one more time. So the shoulders should be nice and wide. They should be resting in a wide position, not too far forward, not too far back. The pelvis should also be tucked under. You can find that by just dropping down into the knees slightly. And the head should be just tucking back. So not in this texting neck mode, which we've often got into from being too much on our phones, but just resting back a little like that. Now I'm going to show you a Pilates trick, which is to get the posture nice and in a good alignment. So what I want you to do is form a triangle with your hands, like that. Your thumbs are going to be resting just underneath your belly button, and this point is going to be pointing down towards your pelvis. So from there, I want you to tilt your pelvis one way and the other, and imagine while you're doing this that you've got a marble in the center of that triangle. So as you tilt your pelvis forward, the marble rolls forward into the point, and as you tilt back, the marble rolls towards your thumbs. Just do that a couple of times and feel where your pelvis naturally wants to rest. So as you come to rest, try and keep that triangle as flat as possible, and imagine that that marble is in the center so it can't move forwards or back. And that's the ideal posture from which to start most exercises, most physical exercises. Okay, from there, we're going to do some breathing exercises on unvoiced consonants, and this is to show you how the belly is supposed to move in and out. This very much applies to your singing on the whole. You want that belly to be in a kind of free movement in and out. So these exercises that I'm showing you now are taken from the London Singer Studio, and I would do it with my knees outstretched, but for the purposes of this, I'm just going to have my knees up like this because there's a door there. So firstly, in your nice position with your triangle, just feel the breath rising into your stomach. And as you exhale, feel the stomach releasing. So now we're going to do breathing out on an S, an F, an SH and a TH, one after the other. So with me. Feeling that pelvic floor engaging. And then as you release the pelvic floor, you take what's called a splat breath, where the breath comes instantly back into that low belly. Great. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you it in faster stages than how I would do it if I was doing a real warm-up. So the next thing I would do, lying flat, is to add the voiced versions of those consonants. But for now, I'm going to move up onto the next stage, which is to roll onto your side and do the same thing. I'm going to add those voiced consonants for you now. I find that last one the trickiest because what happens is it starts to shake, and that's to do with the airflow not being totally constant. So for me, that's a certain one that I need to work on a little bit more. So once you've done your two on the floor, you're going to then move up to a chair and do one seated, making sure that your legs are hip width apart, your feet are firmly on the floor, and that your pelvis is tucked under again, and do the same thing. And then you're going to do the same thing standing up. So I'll just show you that last one. And that's the end of that exercise. So you work your way from the ground to standing. If you found that your abdomen is quite tight and you can't release that solar plexus, there's another exercise, again with unvoiced consonants, which I like to do occasionally. It just goes like this. And lastly, the only other thing that I quite like to do sometimes is to just make sure that my side is well and truly stretched. And I can just breathe into those side muscles. so that I feel that the breath is reaching all around my rib cage and down around my back. I hope that's useful to you. I'd like to talk now about this part of the vocal mechanism, the jaw, the mouth and the tongue. We want all of these things to basically get out of the way when we're singing, so that we allow the sound to have as much space as possible. So put 2 fingers in front of your ears and open your jaw downwards. You'll feel, as you get to a certain point, that the bones in your jaw push into your fingers. Now that's opening your jaw too far. You don't need it to be that far. So just do it again, and this time open it just slightly, and you won't feel those bones pushing in. This is absolutely enough for us to sing in the most part of our range. At the very end of the top end of the range, we might need to open it a little bit more to find more space. The front of the mouth doesn't need to go wide. Sometimes people sing e-a on a very wide, with a very wide front. This inhibits the sound, so try and keep it as vertical as possible. I like to just put my fingers there every now and again to check that the sound is going forward, not wide. And then the tongue position, I like to think of the tip going down, curling under itself, and the back of the tongue touching the top 2 molars there. So imagine a cat hissing. When you do that, you automatically feel the engagement of your belly, and that's the ideal position really for you to be singing in. Throughout a phrase, I often think of the tongue as curling further forward, pulling the back of the tongue away from the throat to allow that sound up and over. So I'll demonstrate that now with all of those things now with my exercises going from an M into the vowels. I do this hand movement because it helps me psychologically keep the tongue rolling forward and over itself. So now I'm going to try Tom Elwin's homework, which is to practice an aria, or a bit of an aria, using a tongue trill. So I'm going to try that on my first aria, which is Non disperar from Giulio Cesare. Here goes. I find this very helpful when I'm sirening, for example, to keep the airflow going, to keep that connection with the lower abdominals. So here we go. What happens is I can really feel it working from my pelvic floor, and that's the base of your support, so it's really useful, I think, to enable to establish that connection. As it gets higher, I find it harder, and maybe Tom might be able to help me find more resonance and more space in the sound with it as I get higher. But I certainly find in the lower end of my range it's very, very helpful just to feel that consistency of airflow. For my homework, for the next person who would like to do a singing video, and for you guys to try at home, I want to look at another aria, and this time I want to talk about the consonants meeting the vowel on the same pitch. So even when it's an unvoiced consonant like an S, I still want us to be able to think of the S as meeting that pitch. because it helps the legato, it helps the airflow to keep going. And if we're digging down and trying and scooping up with our consonants, we'll often find that the resonance drops from our mask, and we don't have such a healthy, free sound. So I'll try and demonstrate that both ways for you now. This is the healthy way. Just to keep that kind of sense of the line going through all the consonants. Now let me just try a couple of them with the consonants starting underneath the pitch and see what happens there. Exaggerating a little bit for the purposes of this exercise, but I certainly feel that it doesn't have as much of that nice heady resonance that will carry over an orchestra. So why don't you try that at home and see if you can notice the difference too in the sound. Thank you, that's all from me for today, and I look forward to seeing you when all of this is all over. Please do continue to support ETO. They're a wonderful, wonderful company taking opera into far-flung places in the UK that otherwise wouldn't have access locally to opera. So they're doing really great work, and I'm so very grateful to them for having given me such a fantastic role this season. And I look forward to working with them again in the future. Thanks. Bye.